an internal combustion engine, and an electric vehicle. These are the specifications for these two cars. Now, according to this, I'm not sure who will win, but let's find out. That was fun, and it looks like the EV clearly won. I mean, they're fun to drive, they're fast, and of course they win a drag race like this. But that's not how EVs are marketed, are they? They talk about saving the planet and lower tailpipe emissions. Are they just greenwashing this? But what the hell is greenwashing? Hi, Avid.
Welcome to Bangalore, sir. Your Nammayatri OTP, please.
So dude, tell me about greenwashing. What's greenwashing?
So in Kerala, all over Wayanad, it's like a biosphere reserve. It's one of the most ecologically endangered areas in the whole planet.
Yeah.
And there are people who build these monstrous resorts, which, like it's horrible, right? They just clear out forests, chop the mountain, and then they build like these ugly looking resorts, right? And then inside the resort, you'll have this tiny sticker saying, we wash our towels only once in 3 days because we will reduce the environmental footprint. This is like a classic example of greenwashing. You're like destroying the economy.
But towel,
basically you're saving money, dude. But at least be open about it, right? But so if you're really caring about the environment, don't build resorts in forests, right? But so
this is a way to appear that you're environmentally conscious when you're actually not. Net you're not.
Yeah.
I think if you look at like the cans, right? We drink soda out of whatever.
Yeah.
It has 100% recyclable written on it.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true.
I don't think so.
Or like the pizza boxes.
Yeah. That's just scam. My God.
It says 100% recyclable, but if there's oil on it or something, which it'll get because there's pizza in it. So all of this is greenwashing.
I think so. They're just appearing to be environmentally conscious so that they can appeal to you. Yep.
And so it's basically marketing, right?
Yeah. It's a perverse form of marketing.
But what about EVs, right? Like, I mean, is there something similar happening in EVs too? Because think about the marketing of EVs, okay? And you're a motorhead. So EVs are good for the environment. You're saving the planet if you're driving. Zero tailpipe emissions. Pollution in cities reduce ho jayega. So Abid, what are some good things about EVs? Okay,
so here's the thing, right? Long time back when EVs came, the people who were on the internal combustion engine side, they had a lot of good things going on. The performance was no match. Now I have realized that, look, the performance battle is gone, right? I mean, let's face it, right? EVs, purely on matters of acceleration, speed, etc., EVs are right now gaining the upper hand. So the BMW M5, right, if you are into cars, is like an iconic of what a car should be, right?
And of performance.
It's like the pinnacle of automobile. I mean, it's the fastest saloon car in the world, etc., etc. So it means a lot to people who are really into high-speed cars, right? Or high-performance cars. So there was a recent video where a Tesla Model S did a race with M5 on a standing start, right? And there was no match, right? Yeah. Tesla easily won.
Yeah.
Which was okay, I get it, right? Because electric can accelerate faster from zero, etc., etc. The problem was, next they did another race in which M5 had a rolling start. So M5 was speeding up to 100 kmph, and at the start line where Tesla is standing, Tesla now tries to catch up with it, right?
And it doesn't.
It doesn't.
Dude, is all of this just marketing? Just like...
No, it's like very distressing. I'll tell you why. That scene made me so sad. There's only one incident in my entire life when I was that sad before. And that is the scene where Lion King mein Mufasa gets killed by, Like that you have to understand the emotion of that moment. So it's gone. The performance battle is gone. EVs are going to accelerate faster. They are going to throw up more HPs.
So one is performance.
Performance is
fine.
Incredible.
What
No
else?
questions. There's also obviously the less pollution, no tailpipe emissions, no noise pollution. And if you're into maintaining this for a long time, EVs obviously cost less to run because of, the costs are lower.
But there's something about this that feels so good, right? Like think about all the charging stations we see, they are blue and green.
Yeah.
There's some marketing happening over here.
There's a lot of marketing.
कि देखो ये बहुत अच्छा कर रहे हो आप.
Yeah.
So, what came first? The chicken or the egg?
See,
Okay, EV or the IC, which came first?
So I know this is the EV, but I'm going to pretend I don't know this.
What came first? The chicken or the egg? I mean, what came first? The electric motor or the internal combustion engine? It was actually electric vehicles. And to know this roller coaster of a story, let's go back to the black and white days of the 19th century. Back in the 1830s, Scotland's Robert Anderson created a motorized carriage with non-rechargeable batteries. A discovery that made people drop their jaws. Look, a carriage that moves without a horse. How splendid. But because the batteries were non-rechargeable, the buzz around the electric carriages soon went bust. However, 20 years later, with the invention of rechargeable batteries, a future of EVs was dreamt again. Scientists across the world were fast and furious to build the best EVs that ever existed. Well, that didn't really happen. But in 1894, the world saw its first commercial electric car, the Electrobat. And since then, EVs became an instant hit. However, EVs had one sneaky competitor, the internal combustion engine, or commonly known as petrol ki gaadi. But these petrol cars were, well, terrible. They were constant noise machines, emitted tons of toxic fumes, and most importantly required intense and risky hand cranking to start. So by the early 1900s, over 1/3 of all cars were electric, while only 22% were ICE powered. And the remaining 40% was steam engine cars, which, like Ross Geller's marriage, didn't age well. We were on a break! However, with the advancement of ICE cars and their lucrative prices, these cars ate up the entire market of electric cars and dominated the car industry for the next 100 years, making EVs obsolete. But in 2008, Tesla bought out a banger, the Tesla Roadster. This insanely fast, sexy-looking, long-lasting, on-mileage car flipped the perspective of EVs. And while car manufacturers around the world were becoming environmentally conscious, governments were focused on forcing them to reduce emissions. The Tesla Roadster laid a stepping stone for EV development. Since then, almost all car manufacturers have started creating EVs because EVs are set to play the Uno reverse card on ICE car.
So we've talked about the good things about EV. Maybe now it's good to talk about the bad stuff.
Okay.
The first is probably like how much they cost, right? They cost a lot more, like what, 40% more?
They're significantly more expensive than their ICE counterparts, and there are subsidies bringing them cheaper. But I mean, if there were no subsidies, they were way more expensive than petrol. And the interesting stats here is, if you look at generally who are the people who are buying EVs, it's not the middle class or the lower middle class who's buying EVs. You can easily see that there's a bias towards richer people who are buying EVs. I mean, they are expensive. There's no denying that.
Tell me this, right? Like, because they're expensive, does it drive into the social status game that, dekho, EV to I'm saving the planet, but thoda expensive bhi hai, so it's playing to that. So that's one. Second is probably range anxiety.
I mean, before that, see, I think you probably have to take one step before the range anxiety, right? Because range anxiety is there, but where is it coming from? It's fundamentally the lack of EV infrastructure. In the sense that if I were to, like a friend of mine, right? Somebody in my team wanted to buy an EV. He wanted to buy an Exxon and he lives in Chennai. I'm like, yaar, tera use case. What's your use case? He's like, I want to go visit my parents every weekend. I'm like, dude, listen, where are you going to charge this thing? And see, the thing is this, right? Chennai, I think from Bangalore is around 400 kilometers. I mean, Kozhikode is 300 odd kilometers, my hometown. And I know that unless I'm on a full charge, I'm pushing the edge of, I'm just gonna break
But
down.
it's not even that, right? Like the places where you can do EV parking and charging, one, it'll take too much time. Two, a normal car is already parked there.
And very few of them exist.
Very few exist. I think I saw my friend also has a Tata car which is EV. He was trying to plug it in. It didn't work.
Yeah, it won't work. A lot of things won't work. And the problem is not also that, right? Even if you are charging, compared to Europe, which has fast chargers, India doesn't have too many fast chargers.
What's the difference like in speed?
I think it's about the voltage is twice or thrice there compared to here. And I think the speed of charging could be 2 to 3x or even more.
No. In minutes. Because it takes me like 4 minutes to charge to like fill up my petrol car.
Yeah, I think it's going to take you maybe 45 minutes on a bad enough charger.
Dude, what a trip that is,
So
right?
that's not nice.
Unless you can really time perfectly at lunchtime, you stop here,
Correct.
put it on charge, have lunch,
And hope that the charger works.
and hope that the charger works. and
Because
then
you
go
won't
through.
know till you actually come back and, oh, wait.
It's kind of scary, man, actually.
So,
what if I cannot charge it?
Correct.
And what if you're with your family?
Correct.
Like, it's kind of scary.
What if you're in the middle of Bandipur, there's like an elephant chasing you? And like, oh, wait, man.
Abhi 2 ghanta aur.
So yeah, that problem is you can't help it, and also that brings into question the whole thing of range, right? So the range figures which you see in EVs have like a catch, because the range figures that are disclosed by ARA in India is done on a AC room in a rolling bar where EV is standing stationary and you're like, oh, 500 kilometers.
No,
range.
tell me this. What's the problem with an AC room? Is there a connection between battery and heat?
Yes, so that's the catch. So even if you take a normal battery, right, take a normal AA, AAA battery or something, heat it up a little bit and try to use it, its life will be lower. So heat and battery don't...
Same with your phone, right?
Same
Like
with
it's
your
lithium. It's a lithium-ion battery.
So generally, electronic stuff and heat don't go well together. Like earlier when we were in the car, GoPro camera overheated. I don't know what's the exact mechanism, but these guys don't like each
So
other
if you're
much.
going through Gujarat, through Rajasthan, to some really hot place,
your range will be way lower. On a
will
hot
be lower.
enough day, way lower.
So if I expected 200 km, it could be 120.
Exactly.
But all the guys buying really sexy looking EVs, okay? I'm not saying like bad looking EVs. Don't talk about this shit, dude. They say, look, I went, dekho kitna fast hai, and they have these photos and they're like saving the planet.
So here's the thing, right? That initial acceleration, responsiveness is something everyone likes. It's very difficult. That's dopamine, right?
But it is cool.
It is cool.
There's no doubt about it.
There's no doubt about that. Everybody loves a car that wakes up the moment you press it, right?
Yeah.
Half the reason why people love these hyper-tuned tiny cars with high power, low power
It's the
ratio.
boom.
Yeah, it's a boom. You can't escape the boom. So, I mean, difficult to escape it, but at the end of the day, I'm not sure if everybody who is buying an EV has really thought through all the problems of battery life. And also, there is a question of what do you do with the battery after it's over?
What do? I have no idea.
You can't do... So here's the problem, right? The other car, petrol car, has an internal combustion engine.
Yeah.
EV has internal combustion. Now, you might be wondering, where does this come from? Have you heard of internal combustion in EV?
No, I'm a little lost.
So, basically, if you keep the battery and pour some water on it,
This was a joke. Oh God. Oh my God.
it'll burn, right? And here's the catch. If I'm not mistaken, this is not a fire you can put out with water because, hey, it was caused by water, right? It's short-circuiting the battery, and which also means that you can't really throw away the battery easily either, because if you just throw it away and
What
if it
happens
rains,
to this? What's the...
short circuit. Water causes a short circuit and it just burns.
But what do you do after the battery is done? Like, this is not recyclable?
So I really don't know what
happens to the battery in our phones after you throw it away?
I have no idea.
EVs still get a very green and clean image due to their lower tailpipe emissions. And the average EV owner thinks that he's saving the planet. But that may not show the complete picture. To understand everything behind the scenes, let's start with the basics. Take a look at this. That was lithium, and you saw how reactive that was with water. And that is the metal that runs our EV batteries. Now, there are multiple such metals used, and each of them have specific problems. But before going there, let's quickly look at the general problems with all these metals. Most metals required for EVs are generally rare earth metals which are scarcely available. Let me give you an example. Only India's fossil fuel reserve is about 660 million metric tons. This is just for India and not the world. Compare this to the total lithium reserves of the world, which are about 26 million tons. Therefore, unless battery tech completely changes and innovates using renewable or abundant sources, the very first problem we face is that we don't have enough lithium reserve. Scarcity. Let's move on to problem number 2. Water consumption. To extract 1 ton of lithium, it requires 5 lakh liters of water and can result the poisoning of reservoirs and related health issues. Now let's move to problem number 3. Energy consumption. The process of extraction of these metals involves external heat supply for quicker and higher yields. This makes this process super high energy consuming, and that energy comes from fossil fuels. Lol. Then we have problem number 4. Toxic waste. Chemicals like sulfuric acid and sodium hydroxide used in the extraction process can penetrate the soil and water. And I've not even mentioned the weak regulation or worker exploitation yet. Another key issue is forest fires. Landfill fires. So how is that a key issue? Imagine EV batteries that are thrown away in these huge landfills. What would happen to those batteries during rainfall? They would instantly go up in flames, right? And they could cause fires for a long time. And guess what? This is already quite common. In 2022, major cities faced huge fires in landfills that didn't last hours, not even days. It lasted months. Now the question is, who's responsible for the pollution caused by such fires? Is it the manufacturers? Is it the government? Or is it our fault, the consumer, who thought EVs are sexy?
If you've liked the episode so far, hit that like and subscribe, and don't forget to comment. If you give enough time, Abid, infrastructure will improve, the quality of the battery will improve, maybe the plugs will start working, the apps will become smooth. It's a matter of time, right?
Point, it is going to be nice.
But you have to admit that you're saving the baby seal, the polar bear on that iceberg.
Baby koalas.
The baby koalas, right? You are saving the environment with EVs.
Or is it?
Go ahead, shoot.
Okay. So here's the thing, right? So when you really drill down to it, right? Vehicular pollution gives only around 15% of overall pollution in the world. 15%. Now again, you have to look at it in perspective, because when you say vehicles, it's not like we are only talking about
cars.
What
are we talking about?
We are talking about aircrafts, right? Aircrafts. We are talking about trains, buses, ships.
Odd.
So if you take out the planes, the trains, the ships, the trucks, all the cars put together, yes, it is maybe 50, 60, 70% of the, but again, right, it's not, so when you...
It's not so significant that the planet changes.
So you're already looking at 7%. Even if you assume vehicles are contributing 70% of that 15%.
Dude, I think the fact of the matter is this. If you walk to anyone out on the street and say, dude, this guy drives an EV, is he doing better than the guy driving a BMW? Unanimously, everyone will say, of course, the EV has 0 emissions.
Correct.
And it's doing a better job.
But statistically, emissions are a small part.
No one looks at that in this perspective, right? The story has been told so beautifully that if you drive this, you're saving the planet, you're doing something good. That's why you get the smug look. And it's only 15% of the entire emission.
So now we have kind of proven that the emissions alone, per se, is not the problem. The real problem comes in the process that manufactures a vehicle. And for that, I think rather than you and me explaining it out, it's better if we see it on a screen with the nice stuff.
Yeah, we're talking about the materials like zinc, cobalt, nickel, and
lithium.
Here it is, lithium.
The EV manufacturing supply chain is messed up. I mean, mining, refining, creating the battery cell, assembling the battery pack, manufacturing the EV. Oof. That's a long, tiring process. So, we thought, why don't we create an EV for ourselves? But to make it, we will need to gather different ingredients from around the globe, starting with the first and most important, lithium. Disclaimer, making EVs is subject to environmental risk. Save the planet Earth carefully. Our thrilling expedition starts here, in the lithium triangle, made of Chile, Bolivia, and Argentina. Over 50% of the world's lithium comes from this salty water called brine. And by evaporating the brine, we get our lithium salt. And guess what? The amount of lithium needed for one EV battery requires evaporation of 3,700 liters of brine. And oftentimes, the heat for the evaporation is provided by fossil fuels. I wonder if that's a problem for the environment. Anyway, we need to process the impure lithium salt, which requires fresh water, a lot of water. But since this lithium triangle is in a desert area, the lithium mining on top of the already limited water supply has become a big problem for the locals. But it's okay, we've got our valuable lithium, right? Itna trade-off to banta hi hai. Now we need the next ingredient, nickel, from the Indonesian rainforests. Thankfully in Indonesia, nickel doesn't require deep mining. It helps save costs. But there's one teeny tiny problem. Forests. Nickel ore is found in the rainforests and we need to clear that forest to get the ore. Then to extract the nickel from its ore, we need to put it under high temperature. The heat for which, comes from fossil fuels. But let's brush that aside and we've got another ingredient for our battery. Now let's go and extract the third most important metal, cobalt. Over 70% of cobalt comes from one African country, the Democratic Republic of Congo. Cobalt mining here has exploded since the 2000s, mostly driven by Chinese investments. But the problem is that up to 30% of cobalt comes from unregulated mines, where workers work by hand without any protective equipment. These mines are prone to collapse, and the collapse have been fatal in the past. And unfortunately, some unregulated mines have also been known for child labor. The EVs don't seem so green anymore, do they? But hold on, the process isn't over just yet. The remaining metals required to make the battery are extracted from different countries. We now need to go to China to refine these metals, and these refined metals go to Korea to become batteries. Then the batteries go to Germany to become a battery pack, and the battery pack goes to the US to be put in an EV. And finally, your green EV gets imported to India.
So that was materials, and I'm guessing by now we know that the smug guy who's driving my EV is probably bloody killing children in Angola for mining his cobalt. I shouldn't say it, but look at the horror of it, right? It's absolutely irresponsible supply chain which is going on in the name of mining these rare earths. But now let's come to the more obvious topic, right? The usage. So it's mostly like my question. What I am wondering is, so where's this electricity coming from?
That's a really good question. Think about all electricity, your home, even that powers these vehicles that we're traveling in. That electricity is actually coming from coal. I think what's interesting here is people say zero tailpipe emission.
Yeah, they don't say zero emissions.
They don't say zero emission. And the difference is because the electricity jahan pe wo utpadit ho raha hai,
okay,
it's coming from coal. I think over there in that value chain, if you can remove coal completely and that becomes sun-powered, solar-powered or some other renewable source or nuclear,
hydro.
Well, there's a different political issue with that. But if that would happen, that would change all of this. But that won't only affect electricity in vehicles, it might affect electricity in our homes.
So I have a connected question here. So I know for a fact that the average vegan person saves the planet by flying the avocados and almonds they eat halfway across the world on a flight. What's the scene in EV?
It's the same thing, dude. Like if you look at an ICE vehicle, companies are vertically integrated. Of course, we have the advantage of time over here. Commercially, vehicles like this have been a success for 100 plus years. So companies have the mining, they have the assembly, they have the research all in one place. Like
are there vegans watching this? No way. Yeah, go on.
Your car, I think, came from Madras.
Chennai, yeah.
So from Chennai, so pretty close by, right? But that's not
6 hours.
That's cool. But that's not true for EV vehicles.
Yeah.
So we have lithium mined in Australia. Then almost all of it is refined in China. Then it goes to Korea to actually become a battery. The battery then turns into a battery pack in Austria or Germany. And then it goes all the way to the US to become an actual EV vehicle, which we then import and say...
Why don't they build it in Europe itself?
That would be interesting, but that's not how it's happening right now. So two noobs like us sitting on this random white space figured out that ye bahut kharab hai environment ke liye and the batteries can't be disposed of.
Correct.
It's a problem. Of course, the EV guys exactly know this issue.
Correct.
Why are they pushing for EVs? Just to make money. Lots and lots of money.
There
and
is
just
a
make
lot
cash.
of money to be made. See, the thing is this, right? The world economy kind of works by making people buy more stuff.
Yeah.
Especially
if it's aspirational.
Yeah, and even otherwise, just make a.
So that's the basic.
There's no harm in admitting that. Look, guys, it's also good for the economy because you will end up spending your money.
But zoom out a little bit, right? Oil is not just. There's import. There's an entire power play of countries happening over here.
Yeah. So that's the thing, right? See, I get it from a European point of view. Either Europe legitimately doesn't want to depend on Russia, or they have a nice story to sell saying, look, man, no Russian oil, let's go to EVs, right? But in either case, if they are doing this, right, it's not like. So first of all, again, I don't know how safe their power plants are. They have a lot of nuclear going on, but I think there is still significant non-nuclear conventional sources happening in Europe. So you are exporting the problem somewhere else. But then that's what Europeans always do, so we get it. I mean, but the question is this, right? I don't get the funda of why are Indians so pumped about this, because
it could be energy independence for us. We import a lot of oil.
From whom? Like, we have friendly relationship with Russia.
But we still have some dependence, energy-wise.
So the
abroad,
alternative is you are going to depend on China for your value chain. Yeah, like
I hope we create some alternate source within the country.
No, but almost all the electric vehicle resources, rare earths, everything is cornered by China. So there's no way you are going to get away with making an EV without China getting.
Maybe this is how they start somewhere. But dude, I think if someone really wants to save the planet, then he should consider not buying new clothes also. Yeah, because some of the most, we're talking about emissions and polluting the planet.
Yeah.
A lot of the garbage that is actually created in the world is because of clothes.
Yeah, that's true.
And all these mounds and mounds of debris that we see over here, it's not, a lot of it is not electronic. A lot of it is actually clothes.
Yeah, textiles are one of the most polluting industries.
And within that is fast fashion.
Yes.
Really quickly, lots of fashion goes out, people buy it and they throw it away to get onto the next trend. So that's why we'll do another perspective episode on fast fashion.
If you want to see two dudes who dress like this talk about fashion, please join.
Hit that like and subscribe. Bye-bye.